Hello, and welcome back to Crush Cravings Before Diabetes Crushes You. I'm your host, Karen Sammer. I'm a board-certified health and wellness coach, and I'm here to help you if you are overweight and pre-diabetic to crush the cravings that hold you hostage so that you can lose the weight you need to lose and avoid a lifetime of medication. And today, I want to dig in on obesity. Now, obesity, at least for me, is an uncomfortable topic because, as you can see, I am not a twig myself. But I am very aware of what the impact of obesity is on my health, on my state of mind, the quality of my life, all of these things. And I work very hard to maintain a weight that is healthy for me. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. But I never stop trying. So let's talk about this. Obesity affects over 650 million adults worldwide. And that number is growing. But it's not as simple as people eating too much. It is more about, there are a number of other components to obesity. It's a very complex issue. And a lot of influences around that. There's environmental influence, there's genetic influence, there's habitual influence. It's all of these things, the behaviors that you participate in every day that you're not even aware of. So these sort of blind habits that we have. And it's still a topic that is being studied. It's always being studied, and there's always more science, new science coming out about it. So there's constantly evolving information. So there's been some significant advances recently, and as noted by some of the drugs that have become available more recently. And so we're going to dig into a lot of these, what's happening on a global scale, what's happening on a national scale, and also the impact of a number of different influences that are in our lives that may not have been here 50, 75 years ago. So since 1975, the global obesity rate has tripled. Now, it so happens that in the 70s, we also introduced the farm subsidies that encourage farmers to grow lots of corn, among other things. Corn, wheat, and soy, I believe, were the three crops that farmers are heavily subsidized to grow, and so are very highly encouraged to do so. And when you had this abundance of corn, you had to figure out what to do with it. So they figured a number of things out to do with the corn. They use it for fuel, but they also use it for the production of high-fructose corn syrup, which, although has been vilified recently in recent years, for many years was in our food system and was contributing significantly to the obesity rate. And it's still really where you live at provided you with the guidelines of eating, if you will. Those all have an influence on whether or not you will be obese. And then, as you may or may not remember, I imagine you do, back in 2020, we had a little thing called the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. And that had a number of impacts. Some people lost weight during that time, especially during the time that you couldn't go anywhere. And they were able to spend time at home and cook for themselves, cook homemade meals. People took on a lot of new recipes and did a lot of experimenting because there was not a lot else to do. They couldn't really go out and socialize. They couldn't go out and live a life that they normally lived. So they ended up having, being able to be creative in their cooking, but also they decided that they were going to use the time to take care of themselves, their health. And so what they did is a lot of people lost weight, but then a lot of people gained weight for the same reason, where they sat in front of the TV and watched movies all day because they had nothing else to do. So, it could have gone either way, but the pandemic definitely had an impact on the state of our health and the state of our body size, one way or the other. So there's some new science. I'm trying to change my light. There's some new science around the biology of obesity, and they've determined that there are over 200 genetic variants that are linked to obesity, and they're discovering more every day. There are changes, epigenetic changes that happen in your body that can, or epigenetics is kind of it's the genetic makeup of generations of your life, but can influence your obesity risk across multiple generations. So epigenetics is these genetic patterns that are passed down generation to generation. And what happens is when you've been told that you have a genetic predisposition to some sort of disease, sometimes that's just the generational behaviors that led to that disease that now has set you up. So each generation is born with whatever genetic alterations occurred in the generation above them or generations above them. So if you are altering yourself, if you're genetically altering yourself by the way you eat or whatever's happening in your life, there are impacts to your genetic makeup that will then be passed down to generations beyond you. So while we may be genetically kind of predisposed to an illness, it may often be these behaviors and these actions that took place over generations that are actually causing that predisposition, if that makes sense. The microbiome, your gut, the composition of your gut bacteria is different between obese and non-obese individuals. There are certain genetic or mutations, I guess, that take place in an obese person's gut that are not apparent in a non-obese person's gut. And there may be some bacteria that is necessary that is lacking in the obese person's gut. So the microbiome, the composition of the microbiome, when they look at under a microscope, when they look at the obese person and the non-obese person, there is a definite difference. And now there's also this discovery of this beige fat, which I am not familiar with, so I'm not going to speak about that. But I know about white fat and brown fat. White fat is what's bad. That's the visceral fat around your organs. That's what chokes your organs out. The brown fat is what it helps you to burn fat. It helps to provide energy. It does a lot of positive things for you. But it's unfortunately the white fat that we find is most problematic and most prevalent in our bodies. Now, beige fat has a potential role in energy expenditure. And I will do some research on that and get back on a later episode when we talk about different types of fat. Then we also have our hormones. The hormones are leptin and our ghrelin that regulate our appetite. They play a role in regulating our appetite. There are a number of different components of regulation of our appetite, but leptin is our satiety hormone and ghrelin is our hunger hormone. And when those get out of balance, the leptin goes to sleep and the ghrelin is on overdrive. So when we are constantly being subject to cravings or just can't seem to get enough food, that means our ghrelin is working in overdrive and our leptin has decided to take a vacation. So it's really when we're getting those things in balance, among other things, there are other influences on our ability to modulate or regulate our appetite. But leptin and ghrelin are easily not knocked off kilter, and that's when you end up having all kinds of eating issues. Now, there have been some advancements in treatment of obesity. I mean, I've talked at length about semaglutide and these other tirzepatide, all these other miracle drugs, supposed miracle drugs for weight loss that were originally designed for diabetes and do help to manage diabetes. And while I never would tell somebody not to take such drugs, I would encourage you strongly not to make that your first line of defense. if you have not exhausted other options to losing weight, and if your life is not in critical danger in the moment because of the weight, then I would suggest that you explore other options before you decide that you're going to take the medicine. If you have done that and you decide the medicine is the only option that's going to work for you, then I say go forth and take the medicine as needed. But these medicines are designed to be lifelong medicines. And if that is the case, if you're going to be taking this medicine lifelong, what is the long-term impact of that? I don't know that they have enough data on that to know what the lifelong impact of that drug is on your body. Not to mention the extraordinary expense many people have to put themselves through in order to take them. The expense and the side effects and all of the things, all of the negative impacts of taking those drugs, because insurance won't cover them or whatever the reason. But when our bodies are never deficient in man-made chemicals. Our bodies are never deficient in those. We may be deficient in some of the chemical reactions or chemical production that our bodies are supposed to produce. But if we give our bodies the right tools, very often we can correct that. And the right tools don't necessarily have to be man-made chemicals. Again, I'm saying that if drugs are the last alternative, that you've exhausted everything else and the drugs are the only thing that are going to help you, then go in with open eyes. And be aware of what the side effects might be, what the cost is going to be to you, both financial and otherwise. And make sure that you are going in with open eyes. There's also, and this, I think I put this in the same category as taking drugs, is bariatric surgery. Bariatric surgery is, sometimes it's the last resort for people that just cannot control themselves for whatever their reasoning is. Or they've got diabetes that's out of control, because apparently some bariatric surgery can actually stop the progression of diabetes. Now, I don't know anything about that, but what I do suggest, though, is if you have not, again, tried everything and gotten the psychological counseling that you need to find out why it is that you cannot lose the weight, or get the support that you need from an experienced coach to help you get to the bottom of things, then I suggest you do that before you go into something that's going to be so irreversible as a bariatric surgery, because that comes with a whole lot of side effects and a whole lot of limitations and a whole lot of things that go on in your body that you wouldn't necessarily want to have go on in your body if you knew about them. So making sure that you have exhausted, again, all the other options before that very last resort is undertaken. And then if you need to do that, then go forth and do it. But do it with eyes open. Don't just go into it thinking it's going to be an easy fix, because it isn't. I've known many people who have had bariatric surgery, and there have been many side effects from that. Same with the medication. I've known many people who've been on the medications. Again, side effects that I'm aware of. And that's not even the stuff that they're not talking about. So something else, there are changes that you can make in your lifestyle and your environment to the extent that you can control your environment. But one of the things that you can do for yourself and lifestyle-wise is make sure you're getting plenty of sleep. Because as weird as that sounds, the amount of sleep that you get, high quality, deep REM sleep, has a direct impact on your ability to regulate your appetite. Because that is one of the influences on your ghrelin and leptin, is your sleep or lack thereof. If you're not getting enough sleep, very, very often your ghrelin and leptin will be out of whack, among other things. There'll be other things that are going wrong that will impact your ability to control what you eat. So making sure that you're getting plenty of sleep. Try intermittent fasting. While it may not be for everyone, it certainly is a benefit that's worth exploring. Because intermittent fasting, it has a number of positive impacts on your body. For one thing, it will help you to limit your calories without you having to do a whole lot of thinking about it. It gives your body plenty of rest in between eating periods to do its restoration and repair, excuse me, cellular repair, and all of the things that are needed to have a body that functions at the highest level. But intermittent fasting also helps you to sleep better, because if you compress your eating and you have a long time from the last time you ate until you go to bed, your body will have been fully digested. The food will have been fully digested, and your body can concentrate on sleeping, on resting. Because if you're digesting food while you're trying to sleep, neither one of those things happens effectively.
Let's go way on, way back when. I didn't even know you couldn't have been too much more than 10. Just now. I ain't no psychiatrist, I ain't no doctor with degrees, but it don't take too much time to see what you're doing to me. You better think about what you're trying to do to me, yeah. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Oh, freedom, freedom, freedom.
So try that, intermittent fasting. If you are able to, if you're physically able to, high intensity interval training, HIIT training, helps with weight loss. Now that isn't the only thing. You have to have proper nutrition in order for the exercise to help you. But what that does is, when you're doing high intensity interval training, what that helps you do is it helps you to boost your metabolism, because it's a very compressed exercise period, but it keeps your metabolism revved up for several hours afterwards. And so that helps you to make sure that you are getting optimal calorie burn as long as you can. And you want to minimize your exposure to endocrine disruptors by not using plastics. So plastics in food packaging, in water bottles, in any number of things. The plastic is more specifically around your food. Any plastic that is around the food, and the food does absorb these endocrine disruptors from the plastic, and they have found those chemicals in breast cancer tissue. They found them in other hormonal disrupting things that have gone on in your body. They have determined that these chemicals what they do is they imitate hormones in your body, and so they end up screwing up your endocrine system, essentially. So try to stay away from plastics as much as you can. When I store food, I don't use those disposable containers anymore. I used to, but now I use glass. When I store food in my refrigerator, I use glass, or ceramic. I don't use plastics anymore, and I encourage you to not do that as well. Another thing that has a huge influence on your ability to lose weight is your stress level, because stress in your body causes inflammation, and inflammation influences your body's ability to shed weight, but it also influences your body's ability to accumulate weight. It helps your body to accumulate weight, because your stress in your body is interpreted by your brain as danger. So you want to protect your organs, and the best way to protect your body will try to protect the organs. It's not the best way, certainly, by enveloping your organs in adipose tissue and fat. So you want to bring down that stress level, because if you are under chronic unrelenting stress, that has long-term impacts beyond just your weight. It impacts your ability, your cognitive ability. It impacts your longevity. So stress can contribute to the development of cancer, can contribute to the development of dementia. It can cause all sorts of problems, digestive issues, all sorts of issues. So really managing your stress so that you're down-regulating that response and allowing your body to kind of rest and allow it to release some of the weight that you're holding on to, or help it. That will contribute, once you've down-regulated your stress response, that will help that will contribute to your ability to lose weight. So some of the things that you can do to monitor your activity, you can wear one of these. This is a smartwatch. It monitors my number of steps. It monitors my heart rate. It can give you lots of information that will determine whether or not, to help you to determine whether or not you're moving an adequate amount during the day, because that's important. You want to make sure that you are, that you're getting up and moving around all the time, because our sedentary lifestyle has contributed to the obesity epidemic. Our use of technology, we're working long hours behind desks, we're sitting long hours behind watching television, we're playing video games, we're doing all of these things, we're driving long distances, we're doing all of these things that keep us sitting down and not getting up and moving on a regular basis, because it's really important for your body, for your well-being on a number of levels. It's really important to get up at least once an hour and move around for a few minutes. It'll help your cognition, it will help your blood flow, it will help your breathing, it will help your digestion, it will help all sorts of things. So making sure that you are getting up and moving every hour, if you are in a sedentary situation where you're sitting for long periods of time. If you're able to get up. If you're not able to get up, whatever you can move, you should move. If sitting is your situation, you move whatever parts of your body are available to be moved. So there are a number of things that have been undertaken, a number of initiatives that have been undertaken by various factions of society. There's been sugar tax that has been imposed on in several countries. Sometimes that helps to reduce the consumption of sugar. Sometimes it doesn't. Depends on where it is and who's being rebellious about that or whatever they're doing. Making sure that packaging is well documented. So the packaging is not just marketing on certain foods. So all foods, actually. If you turn the package over, there's the nutrition facts, there's the breakdown of the macronutrients and the micronutrients. There's the ingredient list, but the ingredient list can be kind of vague and misleading sometimes. As for instance, something called natural flavoring. What is that exactly? Natural coloring. What is that exactly? Caramel coloring. What is that exactly? These are things that need more distinct definition so that people know exactly what's going into their foods. Because I have a feeling that if you saw what those actual ingredients were made up of, you probably wouldn't eat it. But now there's been some movement towards using the front of the package for nutritional information rather than marketing. Because what they're doing now is they make something look like it's perfectly fine on the front, because that's where they do their marketing, and you turn it over and it's got stuff in there that you would never consume, or you know that a healthy body has no need for those particular ingredients. So getting that front of package labeling is important, because then people will see exactly what it is that they're getting without having to succumb to the marketing nonsense that they're putting on the page. A lot of companies are taking the initiative to help to reduce the sugar in the foods that they're serving to their employees, but also offering health programs so that employees become more aware, because not everybody's aware of what is considered healthy behaviors or healthy foods. There's so much conflicting information out there that people get confused easily. So corporations are doing these health programs. It helps to keep their insurance rates down. Because if they're insuring their employees and you have a lot of sick employees, those insurance rates are going to be pretty high. So making sure that the employees stay healthy is a really is really beneficial for the company and for the employees themselves. I had to turn the light back on. And then starting in the schools, I love this idea, is starting early when the kids are young and impressionable, starting in the schools to teach them about healthy eating and providing foods that are healthy and beneficial to the students rather than something that's packaged and ultra refined, ultra processed, that causes a lot of behavioral issues. It causes a lot of cognitive issues, a lot of learning issues. So a lot of our students that have ADHD or oppositional disorders, those type of things, very often that stuff is influenced very heavily, not very often, always, it's influenced very heavily by the way they eat. And when they're fed the food that is nutritious, that is going to help them to function at the highest level, I think a lot of those symptoms either dissipate or completely go away. So what needs to happen now going forward, and I think is that there's some science going in this direction, is individualized obesity control. Because everybody is different. Every individual body is different. Every individual's life is different. Every individual's psyche is different. So there's not a one-size-fits-all program, and when you try to do that, when you try to put everybody on the one-size-fits-all program, it doesn't work for most of the people. So personalizing a nutritional program based on the genetics and the microbiome, the construction of the microbiome in a body is really, that's really going to be helpful as this kind of unfolds. You want to, they also are looking towards finding ways to activate the brown fat in your body. So that if you can activate the brown fat to do what it's meant to do, which is to help you burn calories and burn the fat that you have on your body, then that will be a benefit to somebody who is chronically obese. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes and I'm saying artificial pancreas technology is one of the options. But to me, artificial pancreas technology is actually, it's for diabetics. It's artificial pancreas technology is for better glucose control in obese diabetics. So, very often people who are obese develop diabetes, type 2 diabetes, because their body has become insulin resistant, and eventually the pancreas just gets exhausted and stops working. And so this is really to help to keep that pancreas doing what it's supposed to be doing in order to keep a person who's diabetic and obese in better control, their bodies and their diabetes in better control. But the bottom line is obesity has a lot of factors involved in it. It's very complex. It's not just one thing. It's not just one thing for anybody. There are a number of influences in each case of obesity, and they all need to be addressed. And so understanding what is happening to the individual, why are they in this condition, whether it's because they're eating the wrong foods, they're not getting enough sleep, they're under extreme stress, they may be taking medications that are causing it, they may be using endocrine disrupting substances, not just the plastics in your food, but also the personal care, the skin care that you use. You want to make sure that whatever you're using on your body or in your body is safe and healthy and not causing these other problems. When your microbiome is out of balance, if you have more bad bacteria than good bacteria, that also can cause an obesity situation. But there are so many different factors involved in why someone is overweight or obese, and really understanding, getting to the bottom of what's going on is important, but it's not always possible. So trying to take control of the things that you have control over, like what you're putting in your body, what you're putting on your body, how much sleep you're getting, how much stress you are allowing to get into your life. Although that may not be controllable, how you're managing that stress is controllable if you take the steps to manage it. And so all of these influences can be managed by you. You can't necessarily change the air that you breathe or the water that you drink, although you can filter the water, but even that isn't going to be 100% effective. But changing the things that you know that you can change to best support your body is going to go a long way to managing your weight problem. And understanding that, you have to understand about the food, you have to understand about how these things all impact you. So making sure that you do, staying in an environment as much as you can have any control over it, staying in an environment that is as healthy as possible. And, be in a community of people who are supportive of your efforts. Be with somebody who's supportive of your efforts. If somebody is going to undermine your effort to lose weight, even if it's the 100th time, the 1,000,000th time that you've tried it, then that person don't give them any space in your head. They don't have the right to talk to you about this. It is difficult. There's no question about it. I've been up and down the scale my entire life. It is difficult. And the important thing is that you keep trying. You keep trying, you keep working on it. You keep doing the things that you know are going to help. But don't keep doing the same thing over and over again if you're not getting results. So if you're constantly doing the same eating everything in moderation and you're not seeing any results, well, eating everything in moderation is not necessarily the answer. You can't eat everything, because the stuff that you've been eating, even if the stuff you've been eating up to now is what puts you in the condition that you're in, contributed certainly. So if you're going to continue to eat that way only in smaller portions, chances are you're not going to be very successful. But so I work with my clients to show them some of the things that they're eating that may not be the best choices for them. And sometimes there are things that you're going to have to give up. And if that is scary for you, we got to talk about that as well, because that should not be. I don't ever want somebody to allow their need for chocolate cake to be the thing that kills them, if I can have any influence on that. So I am a coach, as I said before, and I help people to overcome these things. This is my life's work. This is what I do. I help people to overcome those cravings so they can balance their blood sugar and avoid diabetes, but lose the weight. So even if you're not diabetic or pre-diabetic, chances are if you're overweight, you're on your way to that condition. So let's stop that in its tracks. I offer a free consultation to everyone who would like to have one. All you have to do is go to my website, yourpoweryourhealth.com/book, and book yourself a consultation with me. What we'll do is we'll talk about where you are. We'll talk about where you'd like to get. Well, I'll give you some action steps to go from point A to point B. And if you choose to work with me after that, great. I would love it. If you choose not to, that's fine too. And you'll still walk away with some action steps that will get you started on your healthy path. So let's talk. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. And until next time, I'm Karen Sammer, Your Power, Your Health, Nutrition and Health Coaching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.